Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Camden and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review to our 1-0 victory last night against Norwich City at Carrow Road. Another away win for Carlo Ancelotti's Everton, meaning that we've now picked up 4 points since the return of the Premier League after of course the goalless draw against Liverpool last Sunday. We're going to talk about the game today. Computer's having a little bit of a nightmare straight away, just bear with me with that. It's absolutely boiling outside. It's like the hottest day ever or something stupid. It's about 30 million degrees outside, so just give me a couple of seconds if there's any sort of issues with the technology. It is quite hot, but we're going to talk about yesterday's game today. We're going to give a full live game review. We're going to talk about the goal. We're going to talk about Alex Iwobi's performance, specifically Michael Keane's performance, and we're going to sit down and talk about what a good victory it was. It wasn't a great game to watch, don't get me wrong. It wasn't a fantastic performance by Everton Football Club by any stretch of the imagination, and I think if we're going to go to Leicester next week, if Leicester are going to come to Goodison next week and we're going to want to get something out of that game, then we do need to play a little bit better. We do need to create more opportunities. We do need to make the most with the ball, because I think there were times yesterday where we were a little bit sloppy. We allowed Norwich into the game and in sort of towards the back end of the first half. We allowed them to play a little bit. We allowed them to settle down. Instead of just going for the jugular straight away, we sort of allowed them to creep back in, and we can't afford to do that against a side like Leicester next week, because they have got real quality to hurt us. But nevertheless, we won the game, and that's all that matters. Listen, I sat here on the game preview and I said about how I want Everton to go out there and blather them and blow them away and give us one of those victories that you sit down and go, yeah, we absolutely battered them there. It wasn't the case, and you know what? To be honest, I think from my point of view, it's probably a little bit naive for me to think like that. When we done the game preview, Norwich are a team that of course are fighting relegation, still not mathematically down yet. Unfortunately for them, it looks like that's the way it's going, but they're still fighting to stay up, they're still fighting for the survival, and it's not the most impossible thing in the world for them to gain survival and remain in the Premier League. There's a lot of other teams that are in and around that relegation zone that are on similar points as each other. So we were coming up against the Norwich side that were full of fight, full of energy, and wanted to win the game of football. Ultimately didn't have the quality in the end, and our quality shone through, certainly in the second half of it. And you know what? I'll take the 3 points. I'll take the 1-0 win. Ultimately, it's another win away from home for Carlo Ancelotti's Everton. And when you put it into perspective, and when you start to look at the games away from home in previous regimes, where under Marco Silva, under Ronald Koeman, for example, we very, very rarely won away from home. You only have to look at this fixture back earlier on in the season at Goodison Park, when Norwich turned up and they absolutely turned us over. And yes, it was a different circumstance, and obviously the world's gone to shit since then. But again, they turned up with the same team. They played decent football and they turned us over. Whereas I think yesterday we turned up to Norwich. We put in a professional performance. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't perfect. It was sloppy at times, certainly in that first half. But we stepped it up in the second half, and I'm always very happy to see performances where, obviously it's not ideal that we don't start the game well, but I'm always quite happy to see performances where we don't necessarily start the game well, but we massively improve in the second half. Again, I'm not saying that I don't want us to start games well, but I take a lot out of us turning up in the second half and improving massively, because it means to me that the manager's gotten the lads in at half time there and giving them a right bollock and saying, listen, this isn't good enough, we need to do this better, we need to do that better. And you could tell that Carlo Ancelotti done that with the lads yesterday, because the second half performance was much, much better than the first half performance. He made a change at half time. Tom Davies coming off for Gylfi Sigurdsson. Thought Tom really, really struggled in yesterday's game, to be honest with you. I thought he had an okay game against Liverpool. He wasn't great, he wasn't awful. Again, in the second half of that game, he sort of come into his own a little bit, but yesterday he was really, really poor in that first half, and I think it warranted the early substitution. Gylfi Sigurdsson come on for the entirety of the second half, done okay, got himself about, put himself in the areas that he needed to be, and again put in another semi-decent performance off the bench, which I think is what we're more likely to see from Gylfi Sigurdsson now, is those impact performances from the bench. I think when he starts games, he doesn't affect it as much. But I'll take it. I'll take the 1-0 win. Yeah, it'd have been nice to go there and do what Southampton done, or go there and do what we done to Burnley last season, but ultimately, again, you'd have to take the circumstances into it. We turned up. We've only been back less than a week. We played our first game on Sunday, Merseyside derby, took a very, very good point out of that, and we went and we won yesterday, and that's all that matters. We got the 3 points away from home, and And again, you know, we've played 2 tough games when you think about it. We've played the team that are soon to be champions and who have absolutely walked the league this season, and we've played the team that are fighting their absolute best to not be relegated. So 4 points out of those 2 games within the first week of Premier League football, I'll take. So we're going to talk about the game today in all of its glory. We're going to talk about the performances, certain performances of certain players, both positive and negative. I'm sure you've all seen on social media, though, over the last couple of days. So there's been a lot of news regarding players' contracts and players that will be leaving the club at the end of the season and players that have already left the club now in Morgan Schneiderlin's case. We're going to be doing a live stream tomorrow, 5:15 p.m. live on the channel. We'll be talking about Morgan Schneiderlin, we'll be talking about Martin Stecklenburg, we'll be talking about Leighton Baines. We're also going to address the Dan Myers stuff as well, and his tweets and his statement yesterday regarding Bramley-Moore docks and the design work and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about all of that in tomorrow's live stream. So if you're interested in chatting about that and getting involved with that discussion, then please do join us tomorrow at 5:15. We're going to talk specifically about yesterday's game today. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, please do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, get the video shared. Let's get as many people in the live comments as possible. So starting off, like I said, first half performance wasn't great. I think Everton started the game really, really positively. We looked the better team, as you'd expected. We come out, we were controlling the ball, we were pushing Norwich forward, and Norwich was sort of adopting a type of formation and tactics that you would expect. They were sitting back, they were allowing us the ball, and they were just defending for their lives effectively. And it was strange in the first half because we started quite well, and we had the first sort of 10 to 15 minutes where we looked like, you know, we were attacking, we were on the ball, we were using the ball. We were still quite sloppy in possession at times. There were still a couple of passes that were very, very easy to make, and players weren't making them, and balls that, you know, 5-yard, 10-yard balls that in any other circumstance it'd be like butter and toast for a lot of these players, but they were getting them wrong yesterday. We've seen that again briefly against Liverpool in the Merseyside derby. That needs to be ironed out really before next week's game against Leicester. But again, first 10-15 minutes, I was pretty happy with it. I was sitting there thinking, this is always going to be the case. It reminded me a little bit of the Burnley game when Carlo Ancelotti first joined the football club. We were playing against a team that we're always going to sit back and we're always going to defend their absolute arses out until we scored a goal, and then it was like they'd have to come out and attack us, so the floodgates would open a little bit. And that was how Norwich sort of adopted the game. They knew in the first half, right, we're gonna keep it tight. They're gonna be at their most dangerous within the first 15 sort of 20 minutes, so don't let them score, and then we might grow in a little bit of a confidence. And that's exactly what they done. It was strange. It was almost like there was a crowd at the stadium yesterday, because after the first sort of 10 to 15 minutes, Norwich sort of grew in confidence, as if there was a crowd backing them, as if there was a crowd chanting them on to actually go for the game, to actually run at us, to actually create chances. And they did that. They created a couple of fairly decent chances, hitting the post just before the end of the first half. I think Jordan Pickford tips it onto the post. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to say he does tip it onto the post. And they created some other opportunities where they were getting in and around our box. They were passing to us. They were running at us. And it was at that point I thought, we really need to sort of get a hold of the game here. We really need to start leading. We need to get a grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and just show who is the better team and show who is the most dominant team, and go at Norwich and put one in the back of the net. Because I always felt once we scored, the game would be a little bit easier for us, because Norwich would then be forced to sort of come at us. It was never going to be a case of we score one and Norwich still adopt that defensive sort of tactics, because they needed ultimately to get points out of the game. They needed the win, they needed the draw, so they weren't just going to sit back. So I always knew it was a case of once we get one, this game will become a little bit easier, it'll flow a little bit better for Everton. But like I said, in the sort of towards the back end of that first half, I really wasn't impressed with Everton whatsoever. I think we struggled to get our foot on the ball. Like I said, our passing was atrocious. The midfield was absolutely absent. I think, to be fair to Tom Davies, Andre Gomez had a shocking first half as well. I give him a little bit of a higher rating in yesterday's player ratings video, because I think he sort of come into his own a little bit in the second half, and he did improve when he was next to Gylfi Sigurdsson. But in that first half, you know, I've seen a lot of people getting on Tom Davies's back yesterday, and rightly so. He was awful. He was awful. But so was Andre Gomez. Andre Gomez wasn't picking the ball up. He wasn't using it well. His passing was short, and it was just absent. The midfield was absolutely absent, and that's why Norwich sort of grew in confidence, and that's why they started to pick up the ball and hold the ball a lot more, is because our midfield was absolutely absent. You had Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison running around at the top. You had Alex Iwobi, who again, I think he had a pretty decent game altogether, to be honest. honest. A lot of people think he had a much better second half, and he was okay in the first half. I actually think he done well in the first half. There was a couple of opportunities, even in the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes for Alex Iwobi, where he was picking the ball up on the wing, he was breaking forward, he was moving the play. He seemed like one of the only players in an Everton shirt that was pushing us forward, that was trying to attack. But again, he struggled in that first half because the two centre midfielders absolutely disappeared, and that's why Norwich started to get a hold of the ball, and that's why Norwich ultimately started to play a little bit. And you know, it was evident that Carlo Ancelotti had seen that. It was evident that Carlo Ancelotti had noted that, taking Tom Davies off at half time. So we go into the half time break, 0-0 still a draw. However, really not impressed with the Everton performance at that point. Like I said, we hadn't created an awful lot. We hadn't done enough with the ball, and ultimately Norwich had created the best opportunity of the game at that point, which was that effort where it deflected and he hit the post. And on another day that could have creeped in. On another day that mightn't have hit the deflection and we'd have been 1-0 down, and then it'd have been an even tougher game to break them down. It was always going to be a case, this game, of Everton not only asserting the dominance but showing the quality. We will come up against certain teams in a Premier League season, your Burnleys, your Norwich in this instance, where they'll sit a lot of men behind the ball, and it's our job to break them down. It's our responsibility to go, right, okay, you're going to do that, right, well, we're going to play through you with fantastic football, get the first goal, and then once we've got the first goal, it'll be a lot easier because you're going to be forced to come at us, you're going to be forced to play, and then we've just got to counter-attack you then. We've just got to be quicker, we've just got to be, more on the ball in terms of the football. But that first goal, breaking them down for that first goal, was always going to be the toughest thing, because they were at, it was 0-0 at that point. They would have taken a draw. They sat a lot of men behind the ball. They defended, and they done it well. And Everton, over the years, and it's getting better under Carlo Ancelotti. Don't get me wrong, it really is getting better under Carlo Ancelotti. But over the years, listen, Everton are known for being able to break teams down easily. I've watched a lot of Everton games over the years against teams that we should have been beaten quite easily and that have ended in 0-0 draws, or we've been beaten 1-0 because they've scored in the last 5 minutes of the game because they've hit us on a counter-attack. Games where we just struggle to break down teams, and I think this current Everton squad still struggles to break down teams, and I would like us to do that. I'd like us to break down teams a lot easier than we do, because I think yesterday, if we'd have got a goal within the first 5-10 minutes, we'd have seen the floodgates open. It'd have been a much different game, and we have seen that from this squad. We've seen it against Burnley last season when we beat them 5-0 away from home. We've seen it against West Ham last season, but again, like I said, reminded me a little bit of the Burnley game in December when Carlo Ancelotti first took over, and they defended for a lot of the game and we didn't score until late on. So we go in at half time, it's 0-0. Norwich have had the better of the opportunities, and you're sort of thinking, right, okay, something needs to change here. Carlo Ancelotti needs to get a grip of these lads, he needs to get them by the scruff of the neck. I personally said that I think a centre midfield change is needed. The thing is with our centre midfield is, whether it's Gomez and Sigurdsson, whether it's Davis and Sigurdsson, whether it's Davis and Gomez, there's just not enough energy in it. That's one thing that I took massively from yesterday. I'm happy with our defence at this point. I think Michael Keane and Mason Holgate were absolutely unbelievable yesterday, and we'll go on to talking about them in a minute. I think Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin have had a fantastic season, and I think, again, they both had decent games yesterday. Probably Dominic Calvert-Lewin a bit more so than Richarlison, but they got themselves about, they pushed themselves forward, they made a nuisance of themselves, as they've done all season. But our midfield is a massive weak point. It really is. We are crying out for at least 2 centre midfielders, one with the creative capabilities that we're lacking, a Mikel Arteta-esque player. And I know it sounds stupid to say that because it's been 10 years 9 years since Mikel Arteta was playing football at Everton. However, we still haven't replaced that quality in the midfield. We still haven't replaced that creativeness in the midfield. The closest we got to it was probably Ross Barkley, but even he wasn't as consistent as Mikel Arteta was. And a defensive midfielder, we badly need energy. That's all I'm asking for from this summer. Yeah, it'd be great if we could sign a right back. Yeah, it'd be great if we could sign a right winger, a centre half as well. But if you were to say to me now, Cam, Everton only signed one player this summer because of financial fair play and the current climate with what's gone on with the pandemic and stuff, you can only bring in one player for decent money. What position would that be? I'd say centre midfield, because I was really impressed with Michael Keane yesterday, and I think if Michael Keane can continue putting in those type of performances next to Mason Holgate, I'd be happy with Michael Keane being our starting centre back next to Mason Holgate if he can keep that up consistently, and that is a big if, because consistency we know is tough for Michael Keane. But again, like I said, the last 2 games, I think he's been absolutely fantastic. Can't fault him. Yerry Mina, I'm happy with. He comes in, he does a job, he plays well, and again, If he can stay fit, if he can get that consistency, I'd be happy to roll with him for next season. But centre midfield, we cannot go into next season with that centre midfield. We really can't. There's no energy in it. There's no urgency. There's no pace. There's no intensity. There's no creativity. There's nothing. And what we're seeing in games against sides that are rock bottom of the league, struggled all season, we're seeing us at parts in the game being dominated in that midfield because our midfield is that poor now. Yeah, Norwich didn't have the quality to break us down properly yesterday, and our defence was fantastic, so luckily for us, they didn't get through. But that midfield performance in the last sort of 25 minutes of that first half was absolutely embarrassing because they played through us, and this is a team that, like I said, with all due respect, hasn't got a lot of quality and hasn't picked up many points this season, and they were still finding it easy to move through us. And that's because when our midfielders have got the ball at their feet, they're okay. Gylfi Sigurdsson's decent with the ball at his feet. Andre Gomes is decent with the ball at his feet. Tom Davies at times is decent with the ball at his feet. But if we haven't got the ball, we haven't got enough players chasing opposition down. We simply don't have that energy. We miss Idrissa Gana Gueye so much, and it becomes evident every single time Everton Football Club play. It becomes so evident how much we miss him. James McCarthy, very similar player. I don't want to talk too negative in this live stream and go on too much about it, but you could see yesterday towards the back end of that first half how much we miss an energetic midfielder, somebody that'll run round, somebody that'll run at teams. If we had that yesterday, Norwich wouldn't have held the ball for as long as they did, and they'd have struggled to keep hold of it. But anyway, like I said, we go in half time and you know something needs to change. You know Carlo Ancelotti needs to make a change in that midfield. It's not working, it's not good enough, and Norwich are growing in confidence, and the more Norwich grew in confidence, the more likely they were going to get to scoring a goal. We come out for the second half then. Carlo Ancelotti has made the change. Gylfi Sigurdsson comes on for Tom Davies, and I wasn't too against this. I think when Gylfi come on against Liverpool, he done well. I think he put himself about, he used his body well, he pushed us forward, he was tackling, he was getting involved. I was quite happy with Gylfi Sigurdsson coming on in the second half. I wasn't, what I'd be 5 or 6 months ago if Gylfi Sigurdsson was lining up to come on. I was quite happy to see him come on, and certainly for Tom, because I think Tom had a woeful game yesterday, and I think there needs to be a serious conversation about Tom Davies' future at the football club. I'm happy to keep Tom Davies on as a squad player. I'm happy for Tom Davies to play in the odd game every now and then, but he can't be starting Premier League football games for Everton Football Club. If we're going to be a team that are aspiring to be in the European positions, aspiring to play in the Champions League, aspiring to be challenging for leagues, winning competitions, I like Tom Davies. He's an Evertonian. I've got nothing against him whatsoever, but he's just not good enough if that's our aspiration. If our aspiration to be in and around 10th and 7th to 10th for the remainder of the next however many years, then he probably is decent enough to play in a centre midfield. But if we have real aspirations of being a top side, then for me, I just don't think he's good enough. And again, you could say that on his day he's good enough, but listen, if we had a player that on his day was absolutely world class, but his day only come twice a season and the rest of the games he was dreadful, I wouldn't take him. I wouldn't have him, because it's about consistency. It's about being able to put up those performances week in, week out, and having 9 out of 10 fantastic games and only one semi-decent game. Whereas with Tom, I feel like it's 1 out of 10 decent games and the rest of them are average, and yesterday he was quite poor. So Tom come off in the second half, Gylfi Sigurdsson come on, and you could see there was a change to our game. There was a change to our playing style. We got we got control of the ball. Our passing was a lot sharper. We were more careful with the ball. We were breaking forward. Alex Iwobi really come into his own in the second half. He was absolutely fantastic. Probably, and my dad said this when I spoke to him after the game yesterday, probably the best performance I've seen Alex Iwobi put in an Everton shirt. Certainly the best performance since he joined, since his first couple of games just after he joined. I thought he was absolutely fantastic yesterday. He was picking the ball up, he was using it, his touch was fantastic, he done a couple of little flicks, he used his body, he got past people, he didn't make rash decisions, he didn't just belt it down the wing because that was the only thing he knew he could do. He stopped at certain points, he cut inside, he played it to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He was fantastic yesterday, and like I said, I'll sit here and I'll have a go at Everton players if they don't put the effort in, if they don't put a decent performance in, if they're not good enough. I'll sit here and do that all day long, but I'll also sit here and praise Everton players if they are good enough. And I've seen a couple of comments on social media last night about how Alex Iwobi only put in an average performance and he wasn't that good. know. If Alex Iwobi had put in a poor performance yesterday, we wouldn't have been saying, oh, it's only a one-off, he's put in a poor performance. We'd be saying, that's another poor game from Alex Iwobi, he shouldn't be in this team. Whereas he didn't. He put in a fantastic performance yesterday, and we should praise him for doing that. We should praise him for going out there and being the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt, second to Michael Keane, or arguably with Michael Keane, whatever, however you want to say it. So we come into the second half and we come into our own. You can see we've grown in confidence. You can see Norwich started to tire a little bit. The game started to get to him. It was obviously boiling hot as well, which would have had an effect on the players. And we started to look like the fitter side. We started to look like the side that was in more control. Again, very similar to the start of the first half. And you're thinking, please don't let the second half go in the same vein as the first half, and don't let them dominate the back end of the second half and then ultimately be pressing us in the last sort of 5 or 10 minutes for the goal. But it didn't. Again, we create opportunities in and there. We get a corner. Luca Dean flies a great ball in. Michael Keane rises, and it's a fantastic header. Now, there was some question as to whether they took a touch from the defender on the way in. I don't give a shit. I honestly do not care. It was a fantastic header. Great ball in by Luca Dean. Fantastic jump by Michael Keane. And again, we've seen it in the training videos. I said a couple of weeks ago, prior to the resumption of the Premier League, I said, we're seeing training videos of Michael Keane's getting up. I think he scored 2 headers in the training videos. And I said, you know what? I really, really hope that he leaps like that in the games. He gets up for corners. He gets his heads on target. And it looks like Michael Keane has been working massively on his heading in training and getting up and winning headers in corners. I read a stat today. Everton have scored 10 goals from corners this season, which is more than any other Premier League side. Which, considering how poor we used to be at corners, whenever we used to get a corner, 18 months ago to 2 years ago, I used to say you may as well give it to the opposition as a goal kick, because we're not going to do anything with it. Whereas now we look like a genuine threat, and I'm absolutely made up for Michael Keane. Before we go on to talking about it, I will get in the live comments in just a second. Sorry, I realise I'm rambling. I just want to discuss Stewie's comments, because Stewie has donated £2 to the live stream. Massive thank you to you, Stewie. It's not the first time you've done it as well, so I really do appreciate the support. Honestly, it means a massive amount to me. You don't have to donate. You don't have to give any money whatsoever. If you were interested, you could do it via the little $sign next to the smiley face on the live chat. But Stewie, thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. He says, I feel excited for the future with Carlo in charge. He also said, I wish it wouldn't have highlighted that message. Listen, mate, I'm massively excited, because Carlo Ancelotti again yesterday proved that he can change a game with his team talks. He can change a game tactically. It was the spot on the right decision to take Tom Davies off yesterday, because he had a poor game. He brought Gylfi Sigurdsson on, and listen, we haven't got many options. It's not like we're Man City and we can take a winger off and put Bernardo Silva on, or put Leroy Sané on for the time being before he leaves, or put Gabriel Jesus on and put a world-class player on that's going to come on and inevitably change the game. We haven't got that. He put Gylfi Sigurdsson on because he was impressed with his performance against Liverpool, and Gylfi Sigurdsson put in a better performance than Tom Davies did, and it was the right decision. It was absolutely spot on, the right decision by Carlo Ancelotti, and I'm with you, mate. I'm massively excited for Carlo Ancelotti, for the future under Carlo Ancelotti. I think we're looking really bright. I'm really impressed with the last 2 tactical performances, in the way that we've set up and the way that we've won the games. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, we definitely need to sort of work on passing and creating opportunities for the game against Leicester next week. But 4 points out of those 2 games, I can't really complain. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, so far, please do hit the like button. It means a massive amount to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Only takes a second. We're heading towards 1,900 subscribers, so if you could hit that subscribe button if you're new, I'd really appreciate it. If you could get the stream shared as well all over social media, let's try and get as many people in here as possible. Back onto it then. Michael Keane rises. Fantastic header. Fantastic goal. Absolutely made up for Michael Keane, by the way. 2 fantastic performances from him yesterday and on Sunday. Became a dad on Saturday as well, to a baby girl. So massive congratulations to Michael Keane on becoming a dad and also getting man of the match and scoring the winner in yesterday's game. I've been massively impressed with Michael Keane. And I want to talk about the defence now, and then we'll get into the live comments before we go on to talk further about it. The defence yesterday, again, was unbelievable. Really solid. Very rarely let Norwich get through. Yes, okay, we let them get through a couple of times and it wasn't perfect, and we're probably not going to be able to get away with that in the game against Leicester, because Leicester will be a little bit more clinical than Norwich are. But other than that, I really can't fault the defence. Michael Keane, again, another really solid performance, and he's keeping he would keep Yerry Mina out of the team playing like that. Because not only did he score the winning goal, not only did he have a fantastic game, but every ball that come into him, he got out. Every ball that come into him, he dealt with. Every time he was asked to do something defensively, he dealt with it. He used his body, he got his strength in the way, he pushed the ball out, he moved out with the ball. He made a challenge on the halfway line because he knew he needed to make the challenge, so he made it. He won the ball, he kept it in. I think it was Luca Dean come over and retrieved it. He was absolutely fantastic yesterday, as was Mason Holgate. Listen, Mason Holgate has just put in another top class performance again for me yesterday, and I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I was watching the games, and at times in the games you see Mason directing other players, you seen him talking to other players, you seen him shouting, you seen him getting, telling players what to do and where to be, and moving over and leading by example. And Seamus Coleman come out after the Merseyside derby and said that Mason Holgate's really turning into a real leader, and we've seen that again yesterday. The leadership qualities that this lad brings are absolutely unbelievable, and they're only going to grow. He's only going to gain more and more leadership qualities, and not only is he doing it with his mouth, not only is he doing it via telling players where to be and where to go, but he's also leading by example on the pitch. Another fantastic performance. This lad oozes confidence every time he steps out, and you know what, and I cannot fault him from yesterday. Every time the ball come into him, he dealt with it. He knew when to make a challenge, he knew when to get rid of the ball, which is massive. He knew at times not to fuck about with it on the edge of the box and not to try and take on 6 or 7 players to get rid of it. He knew, listen, I need to stick this in the stands, or I've got a little bit of an opportunity to move the ball out here, I've got a little bit of an opportunity to break us forward, and he done that a couple of times. He put in a ball to Dominic Calvert-Lewin at one point, which didn't reach Dom because the keeper got to it, but at that point he was in their half, he was near enough in their area, because he knows when to do that, and he knows when to not do that and when to just hit it out because we're in danger. Again, listen, absolutely can't fault the pair of them yesterday. I thought they were fantastic. Michael Keane, obviously, man of the match performance, really good goal as well to put us 1-0 up. Ultimately the winner. Defensively, couldn't fault him. Mason Holgate again. Full-backs, listen, I think they done well. Again, Luca Dean putting in the cross for the goal, which ultimately is great. Seamus Coleman, can't really fault him. Didn't really do much wrong defensively. Didn't have an awful lot of the ball. Very similar to Jordan Pickford. If you see my player ratings at the end of the game, I think I gave them both a 7 out of 10 because they didn't really have an awful lot to do, but they done really well with what they had to do. And again, Luca Dean nullified a really strong Max Aarons for Norwich and made sure that they didn't break through that many times. And like I said, for me, the 2 centre-backs were the pinnacle of that performance yesterday. And that result yesterday, it wasn't a great performance. Listen, I think we all know the passing has to be a lot better, and we need to be a lot sharper, and we need to be a lot more clinical. But again, defensively, I cannot fault them. I really cannot fault them. So Michael Keane gets up, we win him 1-0, and I think it becomes a little bit more comfortable then. Like I said, Norwich start to have to come at us, they have to create opportunities, and they did. Don't get me wrong, they had a couple of times where I was on edge a little bit, a couple of corners. I think they had a free kick which was tipped just to the side. They had an opportunity where they should have really scored. I think it ended up being a foul in the end, but they should have scored. Jordan Pickford was taken out at one point as well, and the biggest opportunity of the game after that for Norwich was the one where I think Timo Pukki went one-on-one with Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford come out, done really well to come out and put him off. Pukki then sort of went to the side a little bit. We got back, we defended it. I think Gylfi Sigurdsson put it in an interception, and then ultimately Pickford jumped on the ball, caught it, and I think he won a free kick for us. But that was the only real big opportunity I'd say Norwich had in the game. They had to break us forward, and unfortunately we didn't utilise that again. Like I said, we knew when we went 1-0 up, Norwich were going to come at us, they were going to try and score, they were going to try and break us down, and the game plan at that point would have been for us to then counter-attack, for us to then turn that round and change it into a positive for us. And we've seen us counter-attack fantastically at various different times this season, but unfortunately we just couldn't do it yesterday. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, again, fantastic performance in terms of getting on the ball and using his strength and using his body, but just didn't get enough opportunities in front of goal. Richarlison as well had a little bit of a quiet game. Keane obviously coming on, and we'll talk about in just a second. But ultimately after that we went 1-0 up. Like I said, we controlled the ball in the midfield for again 10-15 minutes after that, and then in the last sort of 5 or 10 minutes of the game, Norwich broke at us. they started to attack. They knew they needed the goal. They started to create opportunities, and there was a couple of certain times when my arse dropped a little bit again, like in the Liverpool game where your arse drops and you sort of think, oh, don't score here, or don't make this opportunity. But we done well. We defended it really, really well, and a lot of the times we got the ball out quite easily, and then we moved forward. And unfortunately, like I said, in another game and another day, we'd have been a little bit more clinical going forward, and we'd have made the most of those counter attacks. But ultimately, we weren't, and we won the game 1-0, and we have to take that. Not a perfect performance, not an unbelievable performance by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll take a 1-0 win away from home against a team that are fighting for their lives in this league any day of the week. And yes, it wasn't perfect, and it wasn't exactly what we wanted, but it's a win, and a win's a win, and 3 points is 3 points, and I don't think you can be unhappy with 3 points. Anyway, we'll dive into the live comments now. I do want to talk about Bernard's performance. I also want to talk about Leighton Baines as well, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Alex Iwobi, but we'll go into doing that in just a second. Let's get into the live comments. Like I said, if you're enjoying the scene, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Let's try and get as many people in here as possible. Cole says, hello Cam, you reckon we can get Europa or too ambitious? I think we can. I don't know whether I want it, to be honest with you. Certainly not if we can't travel to watch the games as fans. I don't know. I don't know. Listen, it'd be silly to say you don't want to finish in the Europa League, but ultimately I think Everton's big issue then would be squad and having the squad depth and having the fitness for us to be able to play twice a week consistently. And this period of time may help that, because we're going to have to get used to playing constantly multiple times a week, but I think it's a possibility. Jared says, don't know what the big deal is about Bernard. Davis back to his usual yesterday. Terrific second half performance by Iwobi. Europa is a real possibility. I agree. Cole says, come on you Blues. Dewey says, yes, Cam, I made it to this one. Thank you very much for joining us, Stewie, and thanks for that donation once again. Really do appreciate it. Lavid says, I thought last night was a great testament to Carlo. We had nothing to play for, not even playing for the fans yet. Carlo motivated them to perform and significantly raise their level in the second half. Also, I believe there's a shortage of toilet paper. Yeah, listen, again, like I said, the performance in the second half was so much different to that performance in the first half, and I think that is a real it falls on Carlo Ancelotti and a very clear positive team talk from Carlo Ancelotti to encourage the players to step the game up and to encourage us that we want to win this game, we need to win this game. This isn't a case of there's nothing to play for, the fans aren't in the stadium. Listen, ultimately it's shite innit? You can't go to the game, there's no fans in the stadium, you can't go, you can't support, it's absolutely shit. It's shit watching from home and seeing just banners and thinking I should be there, I should be supporting the team, I should be cheering the team on. But there's absolutely no point to Everton turning up to games and thinking, well, this is shit, so we're not going to bother turning up. We've got nothing to play for, so we're not going to bother playing. I want Everton to win as many games as possible from now until the end of the season, because I know, confidence-wise, that will set us up perfectly for the beginning of next season. And the beginning of next season isn't going to be in months and months' time. It's going to be a very quick turnover from the end of this season to the beginning of next season. So I am absolutely made up that Ancelotti motivated him to go out and put a much better performance in the second half, and I'm made up that the players showed that. Stewie says, I just see this as a pre-season. That's what the game looks like, to be fair. Well, exactly. And we don't usually do well in pre-season, to be honest with you. So if we see it as an extended pre-season for Carlo Ancelotti, then it's a big positive, because it means that ultimately Carlo's got a lot of time to decide which players are good enough, which players aren't good enough, and the positions in which we need to fill. Wimmy says, hey everybody, how are you doing? It a like, thank you very much, really do appreciate that. I'm not too bad, mate, hope you're doing well. Lavid says, the debate still reigns on the need for Tom Davis. Yes, I value him, reminds me of a Bill, gives it 100%, but does basics well. Fair enough. I think he does in games, but I just think yesterday he was really, really poor. Wimby says Ancelotti is doing his best with the garbage he's accumulated. I think people are being a bit too harsh on Wasted, more than 12 minutes than Bernard all game. We'll talk about Keane in just a second. Abigail says, I was okay with Iwobi joining us. I like him. It always takes new players to find their way into teams in the right position. I liked him tucked into that inverted 8 to 10 role. Listen, Alex Iwobi, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And again, I'm not a manager, and I don't want to sit here going, I know more than Carlo Ancelotti. This is where Iwobi should play. He shouldn't play there, because, listen, I know fuck all. I know absolutely fuck all about management, about tactics, about anything. Carlo Ancelotti is one of the, if not the best managers to ever grace a football field. He knows more than anybody does about tactics, and if Carlo Ancelotti thinks that Alex Iwobi can play on that wing, then so be it. Personally, I think he's a better centre midfielder. I think he's a better number 10. I think he's better coming in from the centre midfield and then being able to go out wide or being able to go through the centre. But yesterday he didn't play in that role. He played on the wing and he had a fantastic game. So maybe there is something there for Alex Iwobi in that position. Lavit said, of course, break things down. We needed the cutting edge pass yesterday to kill them off. You need to look at players who are outside the top 7 and fancy a change. I can only think of Grealish or maybe Zaha. Yeah, listen, I'd love Grealish at Everton. I would. Wilf Zaha probably would cost a little bit too much money for his age, but I'd love him. Aero says, I love Tom Davies as a person and his passion for the club, but he just isn't good enough. Keane, sorry, welcome Keane. Hope you're doing well, mate. Thanks for joining us, but he just isn't good enough. He needs a loan away from the club. It has helped John Joe Kenny loads. Yeah, maybe he does need. He still is only 21, Tom Davies. He's still very, very, very young. So maybe you're right. Maybe a loan away from the club would do him well. I do think he needs to step his game up. And Whamey says, anyone else sitting in front of a fan with a water spray bottle? Unfortunately, I can't have a fan on because it interrupts the sound of the live scene. But just so you know, I'm absolutely boiling. Absolutely, I'm dripping, sweating. But listen, I'm here to talk about the Blues winning, and I'd sit here and talk about the Blues if it was boiling hot, if it was freezing. As long as we're winning, I'll talk about us in any condition. So anyway, back onto the game then, and we'll dive back into the live comments in just a moment. Loads of comments. Big thanks to everybody for watching us. Currently 28 people watching live. If you haven't hit the like button, if you could, it would mean a massive, massive amount to me. Really, really do appreciate all of the support. So back onto the game then. Like I said, Norwich come at us in the second half. Last sort of 10 or 15 minutes they're attacking, as you'd expect, and Everton defend quite well. There was a couple of little opportunities where maybe luck went our way a little bit, but other than that, I think we defended perfectly and we done really, really well to come out with a win. Again, like I said, that was the opportunity for us to break them down. That was the opportunity for us for the cutting edge pass. I was thinking a little bit when we went 1-0 up, right, okay, the floodgates will open now, we'll get another 2 or 3. Oh, sorry about that. Computers decided to make a little bit of unwanted noise, but listen, it wasn't that way. We were off the pace a little bit, probably still trying to regain match fitness, still trying to get back to normal, and I hope that we are at that normal stage in terms of match fitness come next week, because we can't really afford to give Leicester the opportunities that Norwich had, but ultimately, like I said, we won the game. Carlo Ancelotti made a couple of more substitutions towards the back end of the game. Bernard going off. I thought Bernard had a shocking game yesterday. I thought he had an absolutely dreadful game. This was a big opportunity for Bernard, in my opinion. He was coming up against the side that a rock bottom, more than likely going to go down, struggled all season, defensively are okay, but lack a lot of energy, lack a lot of pace, and ultimately Bernard should have had an absolute field day yesterday against Norwich. He should have turned up and he should have ripped players to bits left, right and centre. Now, I'm happy to say, okay, it's his first proper game back, his first start back, and he mightn't be at that level of fitness that's required to tear teams apart like we've seen him do in the past. There was just certain opportunities where he got the ball on the edge of the box and you're sort of thinking, right, this is a perfect opportunity now for you to go in and now, take it past a couple of players, get in a dangerous area, make an opportunity for yourself or ultimately make an opportunity for somebody else. And he didn't do it. He put crosses in, and don't get me wrong, the crosses weren't awful. The more often than not, got onto Dominic Calvert-Lewin's head, and they were pretty decent crosses, but it was a little bit lazy for me. It wasn't what we want to see from Bernard, and I do think a discussion needs to be had over Bernard. Hopefully I'm going to be joined by Tom or T-Logic, who, if you've seen the transfer video that we done about centre midfielders a couple of weeks back, hopefully we'll be joined by him within the next couple of weeks to talk about the winger positions. He's got very strong opinions on Bernard. But listen, for me, again, like I said, I'm happy to sit here and say, right, okay, it was his first proper start back, and give him an opportunity. And he, again, like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like Richarlison, like the rest of the players, mightn't be up to 100% fitness, mightn't be exactly how we need them to be or would like them to be, but I think overall, not just from yesterday's game, but overall from his time at Everton Football Club, I think we need to see more consistency from Bernard. I really, really do think we need to see more consistency from Bernard. He's our third highest goal scorer this season with 3 goals, and for me, a winger, an attacking player who bases 90% of his game off his attack. I really, really don't want to see 3 goals a season. Bernard, for me, should be getting 10 or 15 goals easily. For me, 12 goals would be probably what I would expect from a Bernard in a Premier League season. 3 just isn't good enough. And I like the lad, I really, really do. I think he's very tricky. I think on his day, he's our best technical player. He's probably our fastest player. He's our most skillful player, but the simple, the simplicity of it is, like I said before, if he doesn't have his day often enough, if he doesn't have his day consistently, then how long can we keep paying a player 150 grand a week to turn up a few times a season? How long can we keep paying a winger 150 grand a week to only score a couple of goals a season? For me, it's not good enough. He needs to be more consistent. And like I said, I'm not judging all of that based off yesterday's performance because I understand the circumstances of yesterday's game. But I want to see a lot more from Bernard. I really, really do. I want to see a lot more consistency. I need to see a lot more goals. I need to see a lot more assists. I need to see him involved a lot more. And I understand that he does do a little, he does do a lot defensively. He gets back. He helps out the defence. I understand that. I really do. But for me, his job first and foremost is to attack. His job first and foremost is to create opportunities, to score goals. And I'm just not seeing enough of that from Bernard. And I need to see more of that. I like the lad. I really, really do. But for me, I need to see more of that. I do. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. On to Moise Keane then. Colin Ancelotti made another substitution. Moise Keane coming on. I think made 4 yesterday. Anthony Gordon come on as well as Leighton Baines. We'll talk about Leighton Baines in just a second. Anthony Gordon again come on. Done okay. Run around a little bit. Picked up the ball in a couple of dangerous areas. Didn't really do all that much, but done enough. I'd say for him to want a decent performance. I think he got a 7 in the player ratings. But Moise Keane was another player that was brought on again, given 10 or 15 minutes. I think it frustrated a lot of Evertonians that he wasn't given more time. But he come on. He ran around, didn't he? I really like Moise Keane, and I think from Moise Keane's performances, whenever you see him coming on for Everton, he strikes me as a player that really, really wants to impress, and I think he feels like he hasn't got a lot of opportunities or a lot of time to impress, so he wants to do it there and then, rather than being calmer and settling his game down a little bit and just letting it, a nice, calm and collected performance show his quality. I think he sort of thinks, right, I need to rush out here, I need to throw as many skills in as possible, I need to throw as many step overs in as possible, I need to get as close to goal to impress the manager. He come on, he was a little bit rash. He made a bit of a rash tackle, which he come away with the yellow card from. But after that, again, he done okay. He got on the ball. He used his strength. He used his skill. There was a couple of times when he was dribbling on the edge of our box, and I was a little bit like, Jesus Christ, please don't do that, because you could put us in some bad danger here. But ultimately, listen, he didn't put us in that much danger. Ultimately, we won the game, and I think I'm happy for Moise Keane to step on the pitch and try and impress Carlo Ancelotti. I just think he needs to do it in various different ways. And I also don't know if it's me. It might just be me. I said it in the instant match reaction, but I also think he come on the pitch and he sort of went 150% for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then he looked a little bit tired towards the back end of the game. He wasn't running for balls like he was when he first come on. He wasn't chasing players down. He looked like he was having a little bit of a breather, and maybe that's something that a conversation that needs to be had with the players to maintain your energy a little bit more, use it in effective ways. Don't just go out there and blast it in the first 5 or 10 minutes of coming on and then be absolutely knackered for the remainder of the game. Use your time, use your energy, use your skill, because there's no doubt in the lad's ability, there's no doubt in the lad's skill. He's a fantastic, talented young player, and I do believe he will succeed for Everton. I really, really do. I think with a good pre-season under his belt from Carlo Ancelotti, a little bit more personal training from Ancelotti and Duncan Ferguson, and showing him the ropes. Look at how much Dominic Calvert-Lewin has improved since he come into Everton Football Club. Come in as a midfielder, wasn't a natural goal scorer, didn't get in the right positions, wasn't great in front of goal. Duncan Ferguson come in, trained with him, Carlo Ancelotti since come in, and he looks like a fantastic young striker now, and I do think that we will get that from Moise Keane as well. It's just going to take a little bit more time than usual, but again, he come on and you can't really fault his work rate. He got himself about, he threw his body around, he didn't hide in the game. Yes, he probably could have used his energy a little bit better in a little bit different situations, but he done okay. And for me, I think we'll probably see more of Moise Keane in that sort of situation in the future. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit the like button. We'll dive back into the live comments for a little bit then before we finish up the live stream. Abigail says, I like Gomez but lost something since his injury. Sigurdsson played well in the second half. yesterday. Sell Davis, Dowell and Connolly. I'm not sure Baines is signing his extension, but we'll talk about Leighton Baines in just a second. He was the other substitution that Carlo Ancelotti brought on. We'll talk briefly about his contract situation because, like I said, we're going to talk about it tomorrow. If you've just joined us, we'll be live again tomorrow, 5:15 p.m, to talk about the contract situations of Leighton Baines. We'll be talking about Morgan Schneider leaving the club, Martin Stecklenburg. We'll also be talking a little bit about the Dan Myers situation and what's currently going on with the stadium and all of that sort of stuff and why that sort of spilled out on social media. So we'll be talking all about that. A little bit of a weekly roundup stream tomorrow, 5:15 p.m. So don't forget to join us for that one. But I thought, like you said, Sigurdsson come on second half, and I thought he'd done well. Listen, he wasn't unbelievable. He didn't blow anybody's skate off, but he done what he needs to do. He kept control of the game. He controlled the ball in the midfield. He broke us forward. His passing was decent. I thought he had a good game. Ladford says, of course I would have Barkley back in a heartbeat, but that heavily relies on him being an Everton fan in favour of Barkley. We've seen passion against Liverpool as evidence of his love for Everton. I don't think I would, I don't think I'd have him back. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he'd massively improve Everton. I think his creativity in that first season was exactly what we need. I don't think it's what we need now. And I don't think he'd come back to Everton either. I really, really don't. When he says, no modesty here, you filthy hero. Stewie says, I'd just like to show my support, mate. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate that, mate. Stu. Really, really do. And Anders says, I'm not trying to put a bad spin on the match, but what do you make of Keane? He seemed as though he isn't a team player and is out there for himself. I want him to come good. Like I said, mate, I think he's a young player who just is desperate to impress. I think, I really, really do think he is desperate to impress. And you've seen that when he comes on and he knows, right, I've got 10 or 15 minutes here. And instead of coming on and thinking, right, okay, I'm just going to settle it down. I'm going to use the ball well. I'm going to move it out sideways. If I get an opportunity, I'll make the most of it. I don't think it's a selfishness purposely. And I don't think it's a, not being a team player and being all about himself. I just think it's his age and the fact that he's coming on, he's given that opportunity. He desperately wants to play in the first team. He desperately wants to start games week in, week out. And I just think when he gets that opportunity coming off the bench, he sort of just thinks, I've got to do as much as I can in this short period of time now. I've got to impress as much as possible. And that ultimately can backfire at times. I don't think it massively backfired yesterday, don't get me wrong, but it can backfire at times. And you know what? I think that's positive. It's positive to see from Moise Keane, because there's been times this season when Moise Keane's come on and he hasn't really had that energy, he hasn't had that passion, he hasn't had that agency, he's strolled around a little bit, he hasn't looked like getting involved. But it's clear now that Carlo Ancelotti is telling him, listen, you need to impress me. If you want to be in this team, you've got to force Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison out of it, and that's a massive, massive task, so you need to impress me. And I think he's maybe getting a little bit of the wrong end of the stick for that, but I can't fault him for doing that. I cannot fault him for doing that. Eugene says, Niasse and Martina go with Baines and Sidibe extend deals. Yeah, Sidibe again, another one. We'll talk about Baines in a second, but Sidibe has extended his loan deal, or Everton have extended Sidibe's loan deal at least until the end of this current season, which was to be expected. Still no news on whether we'll sign him permanently or not. Abigail says, I did offer Keane to Roma or Chico Jonathan David as they have similar value. Yeah, I don't think he's going. Roma come out a couple of months ago and said they're not interested in him. They never have been interested and they don't want to sign him, so I don't think he's going. Mrs. Hernandez, I was saying about Moise, just looks like he has 12 minutes to prove himself and just tries too hard, but he drives at players. We are crying out for creativity. You can see, spot on, and he done that yesterday. He drove at the Norwich defence. He got himself into a good position and he won a free kick on the edge of the box, which is exactly what we needed in the last 10 or 15 minutes of a game that, a team that had played 2 games back-to-back within 72 hours. Let's not forget, the team that started yesterday's game against Norwich was pretty much the exact same team that started against Liverpool, barring Bernardin for Anthony Gordon. The rest of those players have played a lot of football in a short period of time after not playing football for 3 months. So, it's a good result given that. Lavich says the problem with Barkley is that he fell out with Koeman, and let's be honest, Allardyce's manager would make him want to stay. Wemmy says, make him not want to stay, sorry. Wemmy says he wants to do stuff and take people on. We need that, but we need a team who gets us 3 up against Norwich so he can come on 10 minutes earlier, and Ancelotti isn't terrified about losing the ball. Fair play. I think on another day we could have got 3 or 4 against them yesterday. We're just not on the top of our game because of the situation and because we're a little bit rusty. Wemmy says, plus, it was his first 12 minutes of football since the lockdown. He won the mainstay before. There you go. And then this is frustrating because Keane can get a lot of time during these couple of games. There's obviously talent there, there's no question. It's almost as if he's not fit enough to play his own style. I think, like I said, I think he just goes gung-ho, absolute balls to the wall, bollocks to it, I'm going to run my ass off for 10 minutes. And then ultimately, listen, if any player done that, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin come on, well, he does, he runs around. That's probably a bad example because Dom's fitness is beyond anything I've ever seen. But if Andre Gomez come on and just belted it round the pitch for 10 minutes, he'd be fucked for the rest of the game because you're exerting too much energy in a short period of time and you're not maintaining that energy. Wayne says Keane is a liability, will get found out against the half-decent attack and Iwobi is toss. Listen, I can only judge what I seen yesterday and I thought the pair of them were absolutely unbelievable. When we said Salah lost the ball 4 or 5 times for Liverpool doing fancy shit, but Liverpool's midfield just get the ball back and give it back to him. Abigail says, I'd happy if Mason was made captain next season. I'd be happy if Mason Allgate was the next captain after Seamus Coleman as well. He really, really, really is showing brilliant leadership qualities and I'm absolutely made up for him. When we says, don't know if you guys remember Dom 3 years to 2 years ago when everybody thought he was rubbish, but 2 seasons later having been started and we all love him. Exactly, 7 Moyes needs games. He does. If you're enjoying the team, by the way, so far, please do hit the like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. 26 people watching. If you can get to 15 likes before the end of the stream, it would mean a massive amount to me. Dan says Iwobi was excellent. My man of the match. Hope the lads get a good run of games. Me too. Spot on. Eugene says Barcelona dispute Richarlison transfer bid. Not sure. Litic said Iwobi was class. Think Kenny on the overlap will suit Iwobi. Potentially. Good point. Definitely one for conversation. Wayne says can't see us moving forward with Iwobi and Keane starting next season. At least we've got some momentum moving forward. Catching Tottenham should be our target. It should be, mate. And again, if Iwobi and Keane keep putting up performances like that, like I said, it's consistency. Consistency is key in football. And if you can put in performances like that week in, week out, I'm happy. But it's about doing that. When we just hit the like, you filthy animals. Abigail says, would any go for Frank Kessie if he was available? I'd definitely put Adeniran and Benny in as I think they are ready. Yeah, I'd go for Kessie. I think he's a good player. Really, really do. In terms of Beningame and Dennis Adeniran, I think they will feature before the end of the season. I do. As of when, I'm not too sure. Lightic says 12 goals for Bernard, having a laugh. Well, that's what we should be expecting. I'm not saying that he will do it, but that's what we should be expecting. And Wayne says, I think we are playing conservatively because Ancelotti doesn't really feel comfortable with the team, can close games out. Well, and again, I think tactically we're playing we haven't got the squad of a Manchester City or a Chelsea or a United. We can't just bring on 5 top, well, not that United can either, but we can't just bring on 5 top class Premier League players who are going to change games instantly. We haven't got the squad, we haven't got the players to do that. So I think Ancelotti's adopting we need to be playing our best starting 11 as much as we possibly can. And in doing that, the tactics need to be a little bit less gung-ho than maybe we would usually expect in that circumstance. On to Leighton Baines then, just briefly. Again, come on yesterday, done okay, didn't really have an awful lot to do, but he done really, really well. Being offered a contract extension, as we know, for another year on top of his contract. Everton announced today, just before actually, that Leighton Baines has agreed to extend his contract until the end of this current season, but hasn't yet made a decision on his extension for a further season. We don't know what decision Leighton Baines will make. Just briefly, like I said, I'm going to talk a lot more about this in detail tomorrow, but just briefly, I'd hate to see Leighton Baines go now. He is an Everton legend. He always will be an Everton legend. And I just think that if Leighton Baines leaves the football club now, I just really have this bad gut feeling that Everton will go on and be a good team under Carlo Ancelotti and win trophies under Carlo Ancelotti, and Leighton Baines won't be a part of that. And I really, really want Leighton Baines to be a part of that. Again, he done well yesterday when he come on. It is worrying that decision hasn't been made yet, and I would like to know what Leighton Baines is working out in his head and what he's contemplating, whether it's retirement, whether it's moving to another club for more game time. I'd like to know that. But ultimately, listen, I think I speak on behalf of all Evertonians here. We really, really want Leighton Baines to sign that contract. We want him for another year, not only because he's an Everton legend, but because he can offer us something. He's a good player, he's a good technical player, he's very talented still. Yes, he hasn't got the legs that he used to have. Yes, he hasn't got the energy that he maybe used to have, but he can still offer us something. And ultimately, we all hope that he does sign that contract. But like I said, we'll be talking more about that in tomorrow's live stream. Where are we then? Before we end up, we'll get back into the live comments. Eugene says Everton next game after the FA Cup weekend is Leicester City at Goodison Park. It is a big game. That Wayne says is right. It's just the acceptable. It's the way until we get better players in that position. Tuesday Delaney says Coleman is brilliant. He is. Abigail says I don't know if Bernardo's good enough as a winger. Could put him in the centre midfield. Please don't. I don't like Keane. I'm just not convinced with his attitude. Though I know he's younger in a new country. Spot on. Wayne says we know Coleman is brilliant. That's not in question. It's his ability to play back-to-back games and stay in good age. Stay that good. Age is against him. I love Coleman, but he can't play physically every game. Exactly, and that's why I think we're in the running for another right back. Lee says Keane came on and just seemed to think he could run through the players with the ball. He seemed a liability doing this so late on the game, and 1-0 just for me. Yeah, and again, that's where he needs to be taught a little bit. That's where he needs to be told. You coming on in the last 10 minutes of a game that we're 1-0 up and holding the ball up, taking it to the corner flag, using the passing well, not being rash, not being silly with your decision making, just basically taking the ball down and using it well is more beneficial to us than you going out and trying to rip players to bits 10 or 15 times and trying, score a hat-trick in the 10-15 minutes that you're on. That's not beneficial to us. And I think that's something Carlo Ancelotti will talk to him about. Wayne says, Cam, it was Norwich, not Real Madrid. It was, but ultimately, you've got to win the games. You've got to win the teams that are put in front of you, and we won. And again, like I said, it wasn't perfect, and I think we do need to improve before the Leicester game. I think we need to improve massively. I think we need to become more creative. I think we need to be more clinical, and I think defensively we can't allow. Norwich didn't get through many times yesterday, but the times that they got through, I think if it was Leicester, they could be more clinical and they could hurt us. So I think we need to be, again, even more solid defensively. Hernandez says, question for you: with all this content, do you put more effort into the channel or your full-time job? Amazing channel, and keep up the good work, Cam. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. Listen, I put a lot of effort into the channel. I put a lot of effort into my job as well. I do, but I put a lot of effort into the channel. Obviously, there's games flying left, right, and centre. We still want to do the transfer videos. We still want to do live streams. We still want to talk about news such as player contacts, the stadium, etc. So there's a lot of effort that goes in, but I absolutely love it, and you'd never see me complaining about it. You'd never see me, saying, oh, I don't like it, because I love it. It's my passion. I love talking about Everton Football Club. I love engaging with everyone. I really do appreciate the community that we've built. It means a massive amount to me. It still baffles me to this day that I can come on, do a live stream and get 10 or 15 people talking consistency in the live chat. It really, really does mean a massive amount to me. So listen, big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live stream as per usual today, and everybody for watching as a video. Really do appreciate it. Eugene says, what do you think of the water breaks? In this heat, I don't mind it. When it's pissing down with rain and thunder and lightning, I think it's ridiculous. I understand it, but I think it's ridiculous. But in this heat, I don't mind it. Listen, I need a water break. Abigail says, Adeniran might get a game as he plays right back as well as midfield. True. And Wayne says, have a good weekend, Blues. Thank you very much, you too, Wayne. And Wayne says, take care, see you next time. Are you going to do a watch-along, Cam? I may do a watch along for the game on Wednesday. I may be involved in a watch along. Just stay tuned on the channel, and we'll have more information on that within the next coming days or so. But I've seen all of the watch alongs that Mike's doing and Rose are doing, and Toffee TV done one yesterday. It's really, really great content. I love it. So I haven't quite decided yet. If that's something you'd like to see from me, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to see a watch along, let me know, and if people do, then I might do one. That's going to do it for today's live stream anyway. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. Really, really do appreciate everybody getting involved in the live comments as per usual. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Listen, it was a win yesterday. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't perfect. We do need to improve before the Leicester game, but ultimately it was a win away from home. We've played 2 games since the restart of the Premier League. We had no pre-season friendlies coming into it, and we've taken 4 points. A point against the team that are going to walk the league and become champions, and 3 points against the team that are rock bottom and are fighting for their lives and fighting relegation. So you know what? I'll take 4 points. I really, really will. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty yesterday, but it was a win away from home, and that's exactly what we needed, and that's exactly what we got. Sean says, yes, Cameron, thank you very much. Wimmy says, ooh, cliffhanger. Aye, Sean, we're doing well, lad. And Wimmy says, ooh, cliffhanger, and then da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, there you go. I'll leave you with that one. Don't forget to join us, like I said earlier, on tomorrow, 5:15 p.m. We will be live. We're talking about players' contacts. We're talking about the stadium update. We're talking about Dan Myers' tweets. We're going to be talking about everything general, basically. Everything that isn't football and games, we're going to be talking about all of the general updates for Everton Football Club. So don't forget to join us at 5:15 p.m. tomorrow. Big thanks for watching. Please do hit the like button if you have enjoyed. Really, really do appreciate all of your support as per usual. On to next Wednesday now against Leicester. No question about it. We need to update our game. We need to be a lot better, and hopefully we can get the 3 points in that game as well. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.